Today we will be explaining the 7 principles of the U.S. Constitution. First, let's talk about the background of the convention. It was held at Philadelphia in 1787. George Washington was chosen to be president of the convention. What we need to keep in mind is that these 7 principles are the foundation of how our government works. Remember, there are 7 principles of the U.S. Constitution, and we're about to review them with you today.
Another important principle of the Constitution is checks and balances. The Constitution divided the government into 3 branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. That was an important decision because it gave specific powers to each branch and set up something called checks and balances. Just like the phrase sounds, the point of checks and balances was to make sure no branch would be able to control too much power. For example, the executive branch can veto bills from the legislative branch, but the legislative branch can override the veto.
Another important principle of the Constitution is federalism. Federalism is the power divided between the national and state governments. The location of federalism in the Constitution is the 10th Amendment.
National government can declare war, maintain armed forces, make all laws necessary and proper for carrying out delegated powers. State government can provide for public safety, assume other powers not delegated to the national government or prohibited to the states, regulate business within the state.
Another of the 7 principles of the Constitution is popular sovereignty. People are sovereign, which means they have the right to vote and give their opinion. If government abuses the power it has to be given, then the people have the right to overthrow the government and change it. In other words, people that are governed have the control. How is this related to what we're learning? The framers wrote the Constitution based on their beliefs. They wrote 7 basic principles thinking about the people and their countries. One of them is popular sovereignty, which talks about the relationship between the government and the people.
Another important principle of the Constitution is the separation of powers. The separation of power consists of 3 branches: the legislative branch, made up of a House of Representatives and a Senate. The judicial branch includes the highest court, the Supreme Court, and all courts of the U.S., which interpret and apply the laws, ensuring they are just. The executive branch is led by the President and includes the cabinet of advisors and agencies that carry out the laws and ensure their just application. Together they make the Constitution.
Another important principle of the Constitution is republicanism. Republicanism, it gives the people of the United States the power to vote. By voting, it shows who represents us. Republicanism was necessary since colonists had no representation in Parliament. They wanted to assure that their newly formed government gave their citizens the right to choose.
Another important principle of the Constitution is limited government. In limited government, the powers of the government are restricted. You must obey the law. Limited government is a system of government that is bound to certain principles of action stated in the U.S. Constitution by our founding fathers.
Another important principle of the Constitution is individual rights. Individual rights refer to the liberties of each individual to pursue life and goals without interference from other individuals or the government. Examples of individual rights include the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as stated in the United States Declaration of Independence.